Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. As today, things just keep getting wilder. Though, I've got to say, it's funny, because although I generally avoid spoilers, I have seen a lot of negative rumblings about Trimmier, much like I did with Gamora. But I've got to say, it's honestly, I kind of dig it. At least what I've seen thus far. I mean, maybe it gets worse. We're not done just yet. There's just something about it. The atmosphere, the storytelling style. It's different from a lot of what we've seen thus far. Though, of course, with shades of things we have seen. The Drukhari, possible chaos involvement, etc. And, of course, the eternally elf-destructive Eldari. The Rogue Trader has never seen an anthill of such size before, but the most disturbing thing about it is a Xenos skeleton tied to the anthill with bonds made from some unknown material. The Drukhari weapon stuck in the corpse is the only detail that can point to the perpetrator. Being eaten by ants is a horrific torture that makes the blade in the back seem like an act of mercy. A most uncharacteristic gesture for this race. Interesting. And we seem to be at another ruined facility. With fresh corpses. Blocked off path, but one we've never had opportunity to actually make use of. Judging by the traces of blood, the Xenos attacked the camp from high ground, reluctant to get too close. The markings on the containers date back about 500 Terran years. Inside are decayed remains and unusable equipment. I don't know, that stuff up top looks pretty fresh.
Keep your wits about you.
Caligos Winterscale set up camp amid the remains of an ancient military encampment. Which I suppose makes the corpses members of his unfortunate retinue. He did come down here with like 100 expendable enforcers. The body of House Winterscale's seneschal has been picked clean by wild beasts, but the marks on his spine and his split skull suggests the man was sliced in two with a power weapon. That's Caligos Winterscale's seneschal, Erdrig van Tornsten. By the God, Emperor, he was sliced in two with a single blow. Oh wow, okay, so signs that Winterscale has lost more than just no-name enforcers. Though I suppose that's not actually the first we've heard of that. He also, according to the villagers we met, the dwellers in the forest, they also mentioned he had lost the Psyker in his personal retinue as well. Hence why he commandeered the village priest. The putrid stench of decaying flesh comes from the enforcer bodies that have not yet been torn apart by local wildlife. So that would imply that the dead Xenos we found in the anthill was probably the work of Winterscale? But then killed with a Drukhari weapon. Tempestus Carapace Elite Backpack. While the wearer's weapon has a base rate of fire or strike count equal to between 2 and 4, that parameter is increased by +2. If it is a ranged weapon, its recoil is doubled. Oh, but if the weapon has 5 or more base rate of fire or strike count, it enjoys a significant boost to hit chance and no recoil. Right, so that's pretty much integral for a rapid fire build, which of course we don't have, but I could definitely see that being pretty useful. And I think that's it. Alright, let's push on. don't sheathe your axe just yet, my lord. More game rear their heads, eager to lose them. The mountain of muscle next to the laughing rogue trader menacingly rolls its shoulders. You recognize the hulking man as Wharton the Grey, arch-militant to Caligos Winterscale, who accompanied his master to your Magna Exsellsior. Also a slip. Come on, man, why does he get one and I don't? Man. Caligos briskly turns on his heel. The blade of his power axe shines threateningly in the sun, covered in fresh blood. Upon seeing you, he breaks into a bloodthirsty grin. You repeat yourself, Xenos scum. Do you really believe that I will fall for your trick twice? Ah, so you've chosen death. Oh, Starborn, graciously allow this priest to speak. The one before you is not... Silence! Caligos barks at the old man, his eyes blinded by blood and rage. I did not feed you to the forest beasts for one reason, and one reason only. You may still be of use. If you do not want to die with these Xenos, shut your mouth. Hard to say if that's corny or just your run-of-the-mill bloodlust. Lord Caligos must have lost his mind. Why else would he mistake the Lord Captain for an enemy of humanity? Abelard lays a hand on his weapon, apprehensively. I mean, to be 1,000,000% fair, the way he presented it, it sounds like someone tried to pretend they were us. He's definitely headstrong and violent, but also anticipating trickery. We'll avoid drawing attention to speaks and keep focus on us. Caligos is obviously already on edge and one step from killing the poor guy. Easy, Winterscale. I know we're not exactly friends, but I came here to help with your Aeldari problems, not add to them. Oh, truly? The Aeldari next to you is but a trophy, then, and by strange coincidence has absolutely no connection to the happenings on my planet? Okay, fair point. I am here to deliver my people from death at your blood-soaked hands, Monkey. Thank the Elentac that your fragile human skull has not yet been pierced by my shot. Caligos blinks in surprise and suddenly bursts into laughter, lowering his axe. All right, I admit. Xenos are not quite well versed enough in the rogue trader art of making ridiculous statements to pass as a member of one's retinue. But then, what's all this? Wow, Yurliet, for once your chronic condescension actually helped. Well, wonders never cease. Winterscale looks you up and down again, and recognition dawns on his face. Wait, so that is you, new blood. Fancy meeting you here. What in the void are you doing on my world? And in such company? Oh, I was just in the neighborhood, picked up a distress signal or two. A lot of them coming from this sector, it would seem. And saw that you had some Aeldari problems. Turns out I've dealt with them a few times before. Figured I could perhaps lend a hand. Then you're somewhat late, Valin. As you can see, the hunt has already begun. And this time, it's not even my doing. The prey came to fill my hunting grounds by itself. So how could I resist? Caligos laughs without a shred of restraint. Your Lordship von Valancius, why don't you join in the revelry? I'm not greedy. This world has enough trophies for the both of us. Unsurprisingly, at your first meeting, Caligos Winterscale appeared before you in a more favorable light. However, under the layer of dried blood and dirt, you still notice a strange detail. The rogue trader appears neither wounded nor exhausted. Having spent a good 30 nights in the forests of Quetzaltemir, Winterscale has merely swapped his dazzling smile for a feral grin and drenched himself in the blood of his enemies. speaks with gods, looks on with trusting, violet eyes, and you notice silvery sparks glimmering within. His thin, wounded body shivers from the slightest gust of wind, yet you can still sense the power contained in his elderly frame. He nods meekly and gives you the same simple, genuine smile as his sister from the tribe. A panicked binaric trill escapes from under the tech priest's hood when one of her mechadendrites goes limp, sparking in multiple places at once. The servant of the Omnissiah gently picks it up and wearily wields her combat tool until the manipulator starts moving again. Magos Galenia Zeta. Our obvious Pask stand-in. The tall navigator in ragged clothes of silk and silver proudly wears the coat of arms of House Cassini. Half of his face is ruined by a fresh scar left by acid. Valin von Valancius. The navigator nods politely. Though he tries to hide it, his voice is filled with pain and suffering. The Slith mercenary looks around viciously, frantically clutching their weapon. Their body is peppered with wounds, both old and new, some rotting and some almost healed. Their yellow pupils narrow when you lock eyes, but the Xenos quickly loses interest. Oh, such a cutie. I'm going to be very sad when I have to kill you. Wharton the Grey has not changed much since your last meeting. Still the same brute of a man with bloodshot eyes and a dull expression on his face. However, unlike Caligos's other servants, the arch-militant does not look exhausted, and neither does Caligos. Both are filled with rage and thirst for battle, as if the hunt has only just begun. Okay, I mean, that's definitely noteworthy. So, Caligos, now that we've decided not to kill each other, I'd love to ask you a few questions about what's going on. Your man up top had precious few details to share. Really? And I should like the tenderest sea serpent steak and a bottle of Colixian Amasec. What misery. For 10 moons already I've been forced to subsist on grass, roots, and insect larvae. Caligos growls restlessly. Save your questions for later, Valin. I'm not talkative when I'm hungry. Let's find a way to the old man's village, and then I'll give you your audience. The old man guiltily lowers his head. The forest home of this priest and his people has always been full of wisdom and life. But the fire rain called by the outsiders from the darkness one great moon and one small moon ago angered the forest spirits. This priest must find his way home to the heart of Trimmier and perform the soothing ritual alongside his tribe. Until he does, the spirits will suffer and twist the trails. Until he does, the Starborn will not be able to return to the stars. I've got to say, Winterscale, I'm honored you offered to let me join your hunt, but from my perspective, the hunt is almost over. You've already destroyed 4 entire Eldari ships. Why don't you leave the rest to me? You can head on back, enjoy some good food, and I'll take care of the rest. Retreat when the enemy's bones already crunch underfoot? Wharton sneers. Alien blood must flood the lands of Trimmier. Only then will the Xenos have paid for their insolence. Quiet, Wharton. This hunt truly has dragged on for quite some time. The ever-twisting paths, the paltry game. The dullness of it all is suffocating. The rage on Caligos's face changes to dejection. I may accept your proposal, Valin, but only when I'm certain of the destruction of the remaining enemies. Of course, that's assuming we find them in this accursed forest. Annoyance and malice drip from Winterscale's every word. Hurliette gives you an intent look and curtly nods, her shoulders relaxing slightly. Well, in that case, it sounds like our best bet is to get your man here back to his village, so he can perform this ritual of soothing and hopefully calm the local spirits. Well, what are you waiting for, new blood? I wandered these forests for 30 nights and did not find the way to the old Twigs village. We'll see if you bring us better luck. Move out. Beheaded Griffin. And, of course, the priest is a psyker. No surprise there. So I do feel like it's pretty obvious at this point that Caligos is not necessarily corny himself. But I do think he's under Wharton's influence. Wharton seems like a better bet for actual corn antics. Especially since we did note back at the Magna Exsellsior, he only pretends to be dumb. The fruit gatherers' bodies have been savaged and gnawed on by local wildlife. They likely were prevented from leaving the area by the moving forest. Interesting. Yeah, see, that's another mystery we haven't really solved just yet. Bayonet chain knife. When the wearer attacks a target with a ranged weapon at point-blank range, attack inflicts bleeding 10. Target also suffers additional critical damage to all attacks against it. No big deal. Fun, but not exactly a game changer. But yeah, that's another mystery. The Aeldari attack, the living forest. Most obvious explanation would be that this is another Maiden World, but we're not seeing Aeldari ruins. Janus was lousy with those. But we do also have signs of Drukhari activity as well. Fruit and sweet tree sap used to be harvested in this clearing, but now the branches are weighed down by overripe fruit. The sweetish smell of decomposition comes from the woven baskets. For whatever reason, the fruit was left to rot under the scorching sun.
Let us not dawdle.
I mean, not exactly much of a mystery as to why the people who picked them are bloody bones not 20 feet away. So, Imperial world locked in conflict with Drukhari an unknown period of time ago. Estimated 500 years, based on the supplies we found back at Winterscale's camp. Surviving settlers have regressed to mythologize the Imperium, blessed with powerful psychics, who seem to be able to at least temporarily quell some sort of local living forest shenanigans. No current signs of Drukhari activity, aside from maybe the dead Xenos in the anthill. Aeldari attackers do seem to have perhaps deliberately singled out the settlers' psychers with their orbital strike before Caligos intervened. Caligos's involvement here seems largely coincidental, like whatever's going on with the Aeldari is completely separate. They just ended up
top, or get left in the dust.
Butting heads. The rich flora of the forest at times staggers the imagination. Among the trees covered in ivy and moss, the rogue trader notices a spiraling pattern of small white lumps on one of the tree trunks. Someone has cut the bark, causing the milky sap to flow down the damaged parts of the tree, harden from the heat, and turn into uneven, rubbery cocoons. Interesting. Okay, we're back in Winterscale's temporary base camp. Oh, let's see if he has anything to say about his seneschal. Also, teleporting snake man. Oh, I wish we'd been able to recruit Mal. Oh. The camp was routed. Was it the fury of my kin? They fought monsters from among the Monkey, only to become no different than monsters themselves. Hey, okay. A rare moment of elf awareness from our resident Aldari. That's certainly something. And we're back. All right, let's see where this goes. Everything happened just as Speaks with Gods foresaw. The Starborn are back, and with them our... Enough of your bleeding, old hag. I already told you your speech offends me so. It makes me want to cut out your tongue. Easy, buddy. Caligos waves the woman away and turns his flinty gaze on Speaks with Gods. I'm sick and tired of aimlessly trudging through the woods, old man. I'm a hunter. And without a quarry, I'd turn into quite the beast. Humbly covering his eyes, the priest nods slightly. Speaks with Gods is ready to conduct the ritual, O Starborn. The heart of the forest is calling out to me. So let this priest serve his gods, not in word, but in deed. It is done. His good-for-nothing psyker has finally proved himself useful. Winterscale looks around the settlement with a bored expression. I intend to have a good night's sleep and enjoy the local delicacies. One good thing about Trimmier is that the fruit here is sweeter than Calixian honey, and more tender than the meat of a young grox. Sure. You should get some rest as well, Valin. And remember, it's better to go hunting when you're full of vigor, but slightly hungry. The hunger adds acuity. Makes the kill more intoxicating, you know? Let me know when you're ready to depart, or if you decide to share a few stories, then come to the bonfire. It's not often that two rogue traders can indulge in confidences away from prying ears. Winterscale sardonically clicks his tongue, and nonchalantly salutes you in farewell. Hey, level up. Oh my, and yep, we've certainly got a lot of talking ahead of us.
I always keep my options open.
Okay. One sec, let me figure out what we're doing these level ups, then we'll get back to it. And we're back. All right, let's run through this. Today we get a second tier talent and our final skill bump. Though, honestly, of course, at this point, both are pretty redundant. So we're mostly just going through the motions. Val, for example, will go ahead and grab Elusive Speed. Good excuse to remember to actually use Elusive. And then as for skills, we're going for Medicae. Standard tertiary across the board, with two notable exceptions. Abby up next, and for him, we're going to go ahead and grab Defensive Comrade. Bonus to parry as long as an ally is within 2 cells. Not apt to come up much, but, certainly doesn't hurt. And again, Medicae. For Cass, We're full up on navigator stuff, so it's gotta be Grand Strat. And given that we have no stratagems on her, we need to take one that is not stratagem reliant. Thus, strategic offensive. A small but stacking bonus for every kill we get in the front zone. And as for skills, she is exception number 1, since we've actually got her spread over like 4 different skills, only one of which will actually end up maxed. But given that we're doing okay on the rest regardless, we'll go ahead and bump coercion, why not? After that, we've got Pask. And while it was tempting to grab a Tech Priest talent, we will instead go for Enduring Zone, for as we saw last time around, the backline is still somewhat vulnerable to first-line takedowns. Also Medicaid. Not much else to say there. For Kibs. I mean, I'm going to be honest, pretty much everything here is just set dressing, but we'll go ahead and grab Bloody Trails. Might actually save her a movement point every once in a while. And she is our second exception because she is already capped on Medicaid. So we will instead bump Athletics. I guess in case Abelard ever gets sidelined. And also Ulfar isn't available. Which brings us to Yurliette, and she will get Inspiring Trophy, why not? Again, not one that's apt to come up, but you never know. An occasional 2 extra action points is certainly better than nothing. And then, yeah, Medicaid. So that's it for level ups, nothing all that notable, but, you know, a few things here and there that might come in handy. That said, let's get back to gathering intel, shall we? You hear the Elder whisper some sort of prayer as you approach. Shelter your herd under your wing from the spirits from the darkness. O Eagle God, dispel the darkness and show us the way on our arduous path, and bless your star-born scions. Sorry to interrupt, I had some questions. This ruler has lived many of Quetzaltemir's seasons for this moment. Please, ask away, Starborn. Well, what else can you tell us about your priest, now that we've brought him back? Oh, okay, just repeated dialogue. Wonder why it was marked as new. Interesting. Maybe it was possible for him to die when we went out to confront Winterscale. Alright, well, we'll keep working our way around. We'll save Caligos for last. Megoseta. Identification. Greeting. Regret. Communicative function error. I see. The mercenary already has a master. I mean, sure, but, you know, certainly doesn't hurt to put out some feelers. You never know when you might be in the market for a new one. House Cassini greets you. Indeed. The master gave orders to be prepared. We're moving out soon. Wharton is prepared. Killing Xenos is what Wharton loves to do. Right. Sticking with the dumb act, I say. Speaks with gods, welcomes you, Starborn. His violet eyes are reverently trained on you. How can Speaks with Gods help you this time? Well, you could start by telling me more about who you are. Speaks with gods is the name of this humble servant of the forests, rivers, and mountains. For when the two-headed eagle god speaks, this servant listens, and recounts the words to his tribe, and the tribe carries out his will. The old man closes his eyes, and his body sways to the rustling of the leaves and the babbling of the stream. This servant of dreams, nightmares, and reveries can see things that others cannot see. What has transpired and what is yet to be. Your appearance in the heart of the forest and... The priest falters for a moment. The consequences it bears for Trimmier. Consequences, you say? Anything you'd care to share? The Sky Herald stands at the crossroads. I see all of his choices and see none of them. But this servant knows one thing clearly. The Starborn must go to the Deadlands to destroy the one who should have been long dead. Ooh, interesting. Suddenly, the old man throws his head back. His body shudders and droplets of blood burst from between his clenched teeth. The sunset rays will paint the heart of the forest crimson if the darkness leaves it, and the two stars will part, then meet again. Crimson, crimson, the fading light can still be saved. The priest covers his face with his hands and breathes slowly, finally coming to his senses. Forgive this servant, Sky Herald. The waking dreams are often the most painful. Forest goes crimson if the darkness leaves. Two stars, that's me and Caligos. Tell me about your tribe. We are the children of the fiery mother and the pale father who look after us by day and guard us by night. The faithful servants of the two-headed eagle god who shields our lands from misfortune with his wings. We are the ungone, forest-dwelling children of the earth, and the guardians of the temple of Trimmier, the first starborn to have ever set foot on the virgin soil of this land. And your leader leads ahead. Leads ahead is the half-sister of this servant of smoke, fire, and ash. She was the first to emerge from the mother's womb and thus named the next ruler of the tribe. And this servant was the shield to fend off disasters from his ruler. Many years later, when the gift of the eagle god awakened inside this servant, Leads ahead named her brother the priest of her tribe. I do notice you two have a very similar way of speaking. The old man looks down, embarrassed. Forgive the servants of Trimmier for their speech, O Starborn. No matter how much the ancestors tried to pass the language of the gods on to their descendants, the tribes seldom use it, for the gods only descend from their heavenly palace not more than once in 3 life dwells.
The lingo-cultural analysis of the target speech suggests that the expression 3 life dwells equals 150 standard Terran years.
Noted. Thank you, Pask. Let me ask you about something else. This servant knew you would say that. So that ritual you performed, that will really stop the forest from moving around? The priest nods affirmatively. The spirits from the darkness brought the fire rain on Trimmier, killing many of the tribes who had cared for the forests, young and ancient. This blasphemy enraged the guardian spirits, but as soon as the servant of the wind, rain, and sand soothed them with the ritual sacrifices and divine sorcery, their wrath gave way to mercy. So you say you have visions of the future, but you didn't foresee the fire rain? Ah, the dreams, they come and go, Sky Herald of the faraway stars. Sometimes this servant of the gods can understand the mystical visions of the days of old or the future, but even speaks with gods cannot fully comprehend the divine design of the two-headed eagle god. Sometimes I am blind, even when I can see. Sure. Well, speaks with gods, you do seem like a good person. You know, all the psychic stuff notwithstanding. The old man smacks his lips, pleased with the praise. Blessed is a life that serves the two-headed eagle god and his sky heralds. Sure. So hey, you were out there with my fellow Star Herald for quite a while. How'd things go out there? The Starborn who carries the seal of Quetzaltemir's descendant is strong in both body and will, as befits a god. This servant, like the rest of his entourage, had grown weak on just the 7th night of our journey. But the Starborn continued to lead us fearlessly, pressing forward to seek out the spirits from the darkness, even among the twisted paths, delivering the sky's judgment. This servant of the grass, flowers, and trees regrets only the imminent death of the Starborn's companion, the one you call the Seneschal. He quarreled with the ironclad guardian, and his words enraged the Starborn, and thus he slashed the unfortunate man's body up with his axe, and threw the remains to the wild animals of Quetzaltemir for them to feast on. Wait, you're saying the Seneschal got into an argument with Wharton, and then Winterscale killed him? This servant saw everything with his own 2 eyes. The old man pauses in hesitation, then continues. It is not proper, perhaps, for a mere speck of dirt under the heels of a sky herald of the two-headed eagle god to muse upon the deed. However, this servant did sense with his entire being the rage that possessed the Starborn at that moment, and the ironclad guardian reveled in his god's wrath. His god. Right, Winterscale, because they think rogue traders are gods. Ironclad guardian? I suppose you mean Caligos Winterscale's arch-militant. Wharton the Grey seemed dangerous to me even on our first meeting. But our time together spent wandering through the forest cemented this notion. Yeah, there certainly does seem to be a lot more than meets the eye with that one. Methinks Wharton the Grey may be a negative influence on my celestial peer. Thank you for the information, Speaks. You've certainly given me a lot to think about. May the two-headed eagle god shelter you under his wing, O Sky Herald. Yeah, you too. And that does seem to be it, so I guess that just leaves Winterscale himself. I'll be curious to see what he has to say about the whole Seneschal situation. A nice walk, that, wasn't it, Balin? You may have helped us navigate the living forest's clutches, but don't let it go to your head. I would have managed it myself, sooner or later. Winterscale chuckles and repeats. Sooner or later. Oh, I'm sure. But now that we're safe, I still have those questions. One day you too will grow sick of all the talking, and then you too will choose shooting Xenos on a wild planet over endless intrigue. Cheerful notes ring in Caligos's voice. Fine, we have plenty of time. So be it. I will give you a private audience. If dear Corda knew how close-knit we had become, she would have surely branded us conspirators. I mean, maybe once, though she's probably changed a mite bit since last time you encountered her. That said, though, it did not escape my notice that she and Kalkazar both seem to have branded you a traitor. Ah, avoid cracking me, eat them both for all I care. Winterscale makes a wry face and clenches his fists in anger. Acting as if their war on heresy in the Expanse is just starting. Ha! I've been living it for decades. And I don't need an inquisitorial preacher, and I certainly don't need Incendia's goodwill. Fair enough. Alright, so let's talk about more immediate concerns. The obvious Saldari issues, for one. You care about them that much, new blood? Caligos bellows in disdain. Go ahead, then. Try to convince me that the vile Xeno scum deserve the mercy of Caligos Winterscale. But remember, you only get one chance to try. Well, you know, just given how much you seem to love a good fight, it seems odd to me that you'd turn your back on the brewing conflict in the Coronis and spend your time chasing around inconsequential Aldari instead. You've all but rolled over for your real rivals. Winterscale flinches as if from a blow, and doubt darkens his gaze. Testing the boundaries, are we, Valen? I like your boldness, but you shouldn't stick your head so far into the beast's throat. I shall consider your words, and that is all I shall promise. That's all I can ask. So, what else can you tell me about Quetzal Trimmier? It does seem like a very curious place. Your inquiries are curious, that's for sure. Quetzal Trimmier is a planet with a rather dreary backstory. A long time ago, it supplied my great-grandfather with tons of succulent fruits and thousands of cargo containers filled with a special building fiber processed from the local forests. The population all lived in large cities, a safe distance away from the tangled paths and trees. And then this quiet life was dashed by Xenos raids. They burned down the cities and shackled our people faster than our ships could help. In the end, the local governor ran away, leaving the remaining people at the beast's mercy. And the people, in turn, fled the big cities that attracted the Xenos. And that is how the forests that the rabble feared became their salvation. The planet fell into decay. There was no one to populate the cities, and there was no one to extract resources. Quetzal Trimmier expected 3 new arcs filled with settlers to arrive from the Imperium. But in 500 years, not one of them has reached the Expanse. Do not turn your gaze to me, Alantek. It was not my kin who desolated this world. I mean, the Drukhari remains we've stumbled across would certainly beg to differ, or are we not considering them your kin all of a sudden? So, Winterscale, according to your Voxmaster, you were stranded out in the woods for over a month. How'd you manage to stay so spry? The forests of Quetzal Trimmier are not like the jungles of Catachan, new blood. The only thing that could kill you here is your own stupidity, or an unfortunate coincidence in the form of a stray Xenos or a rare predator. Rainwater for breakfast, nutritious larvae for lunch, and fermented fruit in place of wine for supper. One could not wish for better hunting grounds. Caligos laughs, then falls silent, evidently unwilling to share the details. I mean, you say that, but I can't help but notice your retinue over there looks a bit worse for wear. Also, all your enforcers are, I assume, dead? Whereas you seem just fine. That means my people are weaklings, and I shall change that soon. As for me, I have been of stout constitution since the day I was born. At first, Caligos shrugs his shoulders indifferently, but after looking closer at his companions, he raises his brows in surprise. It seems that the rogue trader just realized the validity of your words. And what about your seneschal? Might be a bit late to toughen that one up. The old man was a weakling, and that is why he is dead. That's what happens when you can no longer fulfill your duty to your master. Wharton grins in contempt, his entire being expressing his disdain for the seneschal. Caligos carries himself with an air of indifference, but the sudden furrows on his forehead betray his regret. Many fine warriors have perished on this hunt. Raise a toast to their name when you can. Indeed. Yeah, so I mean, I feel like they've made it pretty obvious at this point. Wharton is obviously the bad influence. Though, unfortunately, we can't seem to actually call him out right now. It'll likely come to a head once we've confronted the Eldari. Well, Caligos, this has been most illuminating. I appreciate your time. I'll let you get back to your revelry. Rest up. We'll set back out soon enough. Winterscale's gaze dulls. The thrill of the hunt is an unfamiliar concept to you, I say. Well, what can I say? I like to actually think before I act. I do find that leads to slightly fewer dead seneschals. Alright, okay. Interesting stuff. I can't say there's anything hugely surprising today. Like, it was nice to finally get a proper face-to-face with Caligos. But yeah, I mean, as we suspected, chaos is almost certainly involved. And his thing does seem largely unrelated to whatever's going on with the Eldari, aside from him simply seeing them as targets of opportunity. He is simply an added complication to whatever overarching plot was already in progress on this particular planet. Presumably involving the Eldari, the local dwellers, and possibly Drukhari? Though again, we've only really seen evidence that they used to be active here, possibly as far back as 500 years, something in that area. I do notice that although Speaks with Gods is very clearly psychic, he also walked up to the still active console to perform his ritual, and there's those weird antennae flanking it. Some sort of resonance devices, perhaps? Whatever they are, they do have the look of kit bash tech to them, as opposed to the usual sort of gothic brutalist imperial aesthetic. But, you know, that could just be me overthinking it. I guess we'll find out more soon enough. That said, we'll hit the pause button for now. We'll give this place another pass, make sure we're not missing anything else. And we will pick up here next time. See you then. Oh, and special thanks to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible, including but not limited to Eerie V23, Revenant, Alois, Arrow Bowman, Dragon Matrix 7, Drakiith, EgonAlter, Exsellsior, Gottlieb, James Trimmier, Kazorm, Lady Shayna, Mark Giemza, Nathan Welch Jr., OverlordPherom, RandomPassrby, RobbyB, Tomasz Piątkowski, Triphoppenskip, and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, if you'd also like to help support the channel, then feel free to push the buttons that do the things. Trust me, it does make a difference. Or you can even check out the PayPal, the Patreon, the Nexus GG, or the YouTube memberships. Links are in the description.
Keep your wits about you.